Welcome to No Such Thing as Normal podcast with Natalie Hayes and Jess McKeown.
This is a casual podcast where we talk about all the things you're not supposed to talk about in order to help you normalize your real life. Because really, we're all just a bunch of weirdos having a completely human experience in a society that asks us to pretend like we're not.
And I'm your host, Jess, a gifted channel for the spirit baby realm who facilitates deep soul healing by delivering and developing divine messages and teaching you how to connect with your spirit babies.
I'm your other host, Natalie, an intuitive mentor and transformative healer on pause.
On pause.
On pause.
Be sure to subscribe where you listen to podcasts. Watch our 100% unedited episodes on YouTube. And you can also follow us on the gram at McJaguar and at Intuitively Natalie for more weirdo and woo-woo content.
Yes, I hope to post soon.
I know. I miss your posts and your quizzes.
Yeah. And if you like this episode, please be sure to rate and review on whatever platform you listen to and share it to social media and tag us so that more people can unleash their weird with you.
Do it.
Do it.
Woo!
What are we talking about today?
What's that?
What are we talking about today, Jess?
What are we talking about today? Today, it's kind of a mixed bag, is what I like to call it today. A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
It is a catch-all episode.
It is a catch-all. We turned from our extended spring break.
Yeah. Whoops.
With a guest, which is amazing. And if you haven't heard that episode, please go listen to it because people are just like loving it, getting inspired by it. But yeah, we haven't actually been like chitty chatty on a podcast in a while. So that'll probably be what today is.
I'm excited.
Like get your chore ready, get your dishes and your laundry, get your walk ready, pop us in, let's go.
Yeah, just listen to us. We're gonna riff. Do people say that?
Do they say it like that? We're gonna riff. If they're cowboys. Natalie's a cowgirl at heart. I am too, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. I agree with that. Okay. First on our list, our riff list. We have talking about something that's been in my sphere lately. Postpartum depression. It's really casual. We're going to start off really
super fun.
Postpartum depression versus just feeling really mushy.
And would you call those like the baby blues? Because I read that term too.
Yeah, I think that's for people who like don't want to be like, I'm depressed.
Oh, okay. So baby blues you would include as postpartum depression.
Yeah.
Because isn't there kind of like a little, oh, I think that's what you're saying, like feeling mushy. There's always going to be some kind of integration, feelings, grief, emotions after having a baby, right? Like that's a normal
life change. Yeah. Overnight, in the span of a couple seconds, your whole life changed. And then the hormones, right? They fluctuate so much because sometimes your baby goes through growth spurts and then you make more milk and then, oh my God, hormones. Or if you're weaning, oh my God, hormones. There's just, your hormones are constantly fluctuating postpartum.
So that can make you feel funky.
Yeah. I think we as a collective society are too quick to diagnose postpartum depression.
Yeah.
As like, versus what's just normal, feeling mushy postpartum. Because I'll say it came up in my relationship recently.
Yeah.
Because I went through like a really sad week, right? I had some heavy realizations about like the support that I thought I had postpartum, that I like don't actually have postpartum, or like it's a mismatch of support, right?
Yeah.
It's not the support that I really wanted or needed, or even knew that I wanted or needed.
Right.
Versus the support that's being offered. So there's like this grieving process of like not having a village and then going to find a village. And then it's like my feelings postpartum are so big. I cannot compartmentalize. I feel it. I'm going to go into it and I'm going to feel it all the way through. And like the happies are so happy. But likewise, when you have a spectrum of emotions, right? The lows are so low. There's so much than I've ever experienced before.
Do you think that this is like an expansion of your current set of like feelings and emotions, like how you were before, after a baby? Do you feel like you got a whole new ones? Like, did it feel like it was being ripped open? Like,
It's
are you like,
like,
where are these coming from?
it's just like your capacity to feel is so much greater. And I think it's
Mm,
because you're so much more embodied after pregnancy and birth,
yeah, yeah. And you're
right?
so
And like
attuned to your baby, so you're like always on like, what are they
yeah,
feeling? What are they sensing? So maybe those receptors are like extra working.
whew,
Yeah.
yeah, they are working overtime. Uh, and I think that maybe this is not something that's talked about enough is all of the emotions postpartum because
Mm,
people are so quick to put you in a box and say like, oh, well, you're just depressed. It's normal. You just have postpartum depression. And to me, that is completely invalidating of the experience that I'm having. That's like a way for you to write off what I'm feeling as real. Like, oh, it's not real. It's just postpartum depression.
right. And like pushing it off to like being medicated
Right.
versus being supported by your community and your family.
Right. I'm just
Yeah.
mushy right now and I just need like space held around me for these big emotions. So I'll give an example. We had we had family photos. Being in a same-sex relationship is so fun. We had family photos with Jenna's family. Um, and I don't have my cycle back yet, right? So it's
Okay.
like I'm just emotional all the time. And Jenna's emotional, like well, 1, 2 days a month.
Yeah.
So family photo day happened to land on that day.
Oh, fun.
Right. So she had all these really big emotions on that day, and I always have big emotions now, and I can't put them away. I can't stuff them down. I can't like just muscle through them for the comfort of everybody else anymore.
Hmm.
I just can't do that. And so I went into these family photos like super off, feeling so off and so in my head. And we had this, big argument because we're both like really emotional and sensitive and having these big feelings and not able to hold that space for each other because we're both like in it. So I went super dysregulated. That's not me. I don't
Hmm.
normally do that. Like I'm able to deal with that stuff on my own. Like, let's just close that box. I'll deal with that on Tuesday when I have alone
Yeah.
time. Like, I couldn't do it. So I'm just so dysregulated. And I found myself not wanting to let anybody else hold Maeve,
Hmm.
which was perceived, a certain way that I was like
Yeah.
gatekeeping
Yeah.
my child, which like Aval, I made her.
She came
Aval,
out of my gate.
I made her with my body. but, but also I just couldn't explain it. I just wanted to, she felt safe. She felt really safe. And
Hmm.
looking back on it, she was regulated. We talk so much about like regulating yourself for your babies, your
Yeah,
children,
yeah.
right? But like in that moment, I was so dysregulated and she was the only one who felt safe and was regulated. So I just wanted to hold on to her because of that space that she was holding for me, which is not something that I ever expected.
Why not?
Well, you're not supposed to like take from your baby. I guess you're
Mm.
like, I'm like perceiving it as taking, right? Like I'm taking this regulation from her. I'm supposed to be holding that space for her, not vice versa. So I was shocked at that. I guess that like revelation that I had that like I am really mushy. I have really big feelings. And then in that moment, like may have regulated me.
Like for what I see when you say that is like she's this constant energy. And
Yeah.
like when you were around it, like you got the effects of it. So like it's not necessary that you're taking, she's just emanating
She was
regulation.
regulated.
And like
Yeah.
when two forces are together, the stronger one, in this case regulation, like evened out your dysregulation.
Ooh,
So
I
you
was
didn't
so
take anything
dysregulated.
from your baby.
Okay, well,
That's good to know.
that's good to know. I feel better about that already. But yeah, there's this, I feel like we're so quick to diagnose. And in a sense, by giving a diagnosis, you are writing off somebody's big feelings like, oh, they're not kind like they're not real. It's just postpartum depression. I'm just a little depressed. It's normal. But like, no, those feelings are real and they are valid and they're happening for a reason. And after you and I talked about like why I was feeling so sad that week, I felt so much better.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Well,
not depressed. I was having
and
feelings.
even more so that like if we put it off to like a clinical diagnosis of postpartum depression, like there's even like less care for that person,
Right?
right? Like
Oh, here's a
Oh, well, if
pill.
it's just
Shut
that,
up.
yeah, like we're just gonna like, that's your thing to go deal with versus like,
Right.
I mean, even if the community was to recognize that incorrectly, you would think that they would be more understanding and even more loving if it was like a clinical diagnosis in quotes. I'm putting that in quotes. Um, yeah,
And it is a real thing, right? Postpartum depression is a real thing. There's like a subset of symptoms.
yeah,
I think like one of them, a key one is difficulty bonding with your baby. And like, I'm obsessed with her. I
yeah.
just didn't fit the like symptoms. So the way that it was presented, I guess, was really like, well, she's just insane. So that's why
Yeah, it was
she's
presented as like a labeling of you.
like she's just
Yeah.
crazy. So we don't really have to listen to her.
Mm, that I feel that in my heart, you know, that feels heartbreaking.
Our internet is mismatched.
It is,
Yeah.
it is. I just said I felt that in my heart, like this feeling of just being labeled and, asked to figure it out, so to speak, or,
Mhm.
you know, not even just being allowed to have emotions postpartum. I think you're right. Maybe my question to you is like, because you were so able to like regulate it or like take some stuff and like go work on it next Tuesday when you have time, like how do you communicate maybe before even you have a baby and especially now after you have a baby to your family, to your partner, to whatever about this? Like how do you get ahead of the like casting out and labeling?
I don't know. I just feel like
Yeah.
recognizing that you're having really big emotions and these emotions are new and they might be disorienting if you're used to compartmentalizing, you're
Yeah.
used to not being emotional, you're used to being the calm one. um, and like really owning that and not making excuses for it, not apologizing for it. Just like, you know what, tonight I'm going to show up and it's going to be messy because I'm
Mm,
messy right now.
yeah. Yeah.
And if no one is willing to like give you that space, take it.
Mm. Ooh, do you know what I'm hearing is that now people get to love you in this new way.
Yeah, like you're showing up so much more vulnerable postpartum.
Yes. Yes. Like like of course people love you when you're like compartmentalized and like holding your shit together, of course. But like this next layer of being really open and messy and being like, can you love me in my mess too? Like,
Yeah,
can you
that is
support me?
postpartum.
Yeah.
It is
Wow.
messy.
Yeah. And like so like as I'm hearing you say this, I'm like, oh shit. So I'm definitely the emotional one. And like, is it gonna be like a freaking storm of emotions or like, I don't know.
Like, yes,
Yes, be prepared for that, I
it
would say. And then
is. Yeah.
if you have a partner or friend that's postpartum, don't diagnose them unless you are their diagnosable person, therapist, counselor, whatever.
Right.
You have some degrees
Right.
and training in that. I would say like there's like that fine line between like, holding space, you're feeling mushy and like concern, right?
Yeah.
Might want to like, but you could like
For
point them
safety.
towards like, hey, you might want to talk to somebody, or hey, you got a lot of, I looked it up for you, got a lot of these symptoms. But I think even that, my guides are saying, can be like a tender ground to walk. And you have to really trust and know your relationship with this person, and that introducing something like that could be harmful.
Could be. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, right. It could throw them off depending on where they are. But it could also be really helpful in guiding them. So my guides are saying is like check in with your gut and make sure that this is coming from a place of love and support versus like
Concern.
your own ego or like your inability to deal with what's
Big
going on with
emotion.
them. Yeah. And be
Big
like, and just
feelings.
it's a lot about, the people who are casting is what they're saying to me. Mm.
Yeah. It's interesting. And like in my experience, your outward appearance, right,
Yeah.
sort of mimics or mirrors your inward state. I'm like, you're so soft postpartum. I'm so soft. I don't have like the muscle tone, right? I've got this like new apron. It's got stretch marks. Like I've
Oh,
got like my body is so soft and it just is like mirroring my internal state. It's like just be fucking soft postpartum. Like
yeah.
you fight yourself and create more problems when you don't just lean into it. There's such an opportunity because you're given this mama heart, and the mama heart is so different than anything you've
Yeah.
ever felt before.
I think a couple times you've told me too, like your mama bear energy has come out. And I think maybe like you might be one way, but like once you have a child and you go through that threshold, like you might be a different person. And these
Mhm.
energies that come with this transformation, like you might you might have to get used to your bear, and that bear might come
Mhm.
out a roaring until you're like, all right, how do I work with this? So but I
Yeah.
think you're right. There's like, what are the resources to support the postpartum support group? Because people who've just had a baby don't have time to do that, you know?
No, I don't have time. I don't have time. No.
No.
Like I can only hold so much space for myself because I'm holding the most space for Dave.
Yeah.
She requires the most right now. So like who's holding space for me?
Yeah. And I feel like I would just have to declare my emotional state. Like,
You
you know, those
do?
like with
Yeah.
kids and they'd have like those
I
happy
am
faces,
mad. Yeah.
sad faces, and you put the little like magnet around it. I feel like they need one for postpartum. Like,
The
where are
Wa-
we today?
the
You
Wong
know?
scale. I think it's called the Wong scale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like make the Natalie scale then. Like you could take pictures of your own self, like, oh, and like,
Yeah.
you know,
Where are we today? Yeah.
your partner is not allowed to self-select for you.
Nope. I get to select.
But yeah, it's like constantly checking the temperature with yourself and then with your partner, and especially if it's really changed the way that you used to operate things, that can be a shift for them too.
Right, because you just become a different version of yourself. People are so
Yeah.
scared of like changing or losing themselves in motherhood.
Mm,
And you don't. You don't lose anything. You just become this different version of you. You step into a new version of yourself. It's not
yeah.
different. It's not that you don't recognize yourself. I mean, unless you don't want to. But
I'm also hearing from my guides, if you feel like you've lost yourself in motherhood, then there's
mhm,
grief that needs to be
yeah,
grieved, right? So
grieve
there's
it.
parts of yourself that are no longer, that have changed, that have transformed, and and for you to fully step into you plus mother energy, you've got to
Mhm.
grieve those. Otherwise, you'll just kind of be in this stuck situation. So please don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah, and don't fight being soft postpartum. Like, don't fight it. There's just I feel like it's
Mm,
so easy to diagnose somebody postpartum with PPD just because they're having big sad feelings one day.
yeah.
Or diagnose yourself. Honestly, give
Yeah.
yourself some fucking grace. Just
Yeah.
because you're having these new big feelings and maybe you're a Virgo and aren't used to feeling feelings. Maybe you're a Capricorn, you're like, I don't know what feelings are, never heard of her. Like postpartum, you're gonna have them.
What are these feelings I am feeling?
You're gonna have them. So just roll with it instead of being like, there's something wrong with me.
Mm, yeah. And why do we always jump to that conclusion, do you think?
Because we want to write them off rather than face
Mm,
them.
yeah.
That's what diagnoses are. Diagnoses don't get to the root cause. They are a band-aid. They help you like
Yeah.
put it in this box and then put it over here, and then we're not gonna look at that.
I know. Like when Dan got the diagnosis of alopecia, they're like, that means that your hair's falling out. We're like, well, yes, we know.
Duh.
Thank you. And what may
Obviously.
be causing that? And they're like, we don't
We
know.
don't know. Yeah.
We're like, awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I start to go into the other realms to like figure
Yeah.
things out, right? These undiagnosed fertility, undiagnosed kind of, autoimmune is a big one. I'm learning some more
Big.
about autoimmune diseases.
Mhm.
But yeah, and we're just so bad at supporting people and facing the hard things. That's what my guys are
Right.
saying. They're just like, we have to get better at that.
Yeah. Look at the hard stuff. Look at the big feelings that you're having. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Your capacity to feel is so much bigger as a mother. And that is such a great opportunity for you to become a more empathetic human.
Yeah, I guess I'm still struggling that it's the people around you that need to shift and get this going.
It's true.
Right. And it's like, how do we, I mean, I know we're doing it on this podcast and like getting this information out, but like, how do we also just bring that awareness to people? I keep hearing like even before we're born from the spirit babies, like starting to prepare people that there's going to be a lot of unknowns, even because like sometimes
Mhm.
you if you had known this, you maybe could have planned or prepared for it, but like there's so much you didn't know was going to happen. And I kind of feel like you face so much unknown every day.
Mhm. Every
What's
day.
this new thing? What's this coming out of me? What's,
Every
what's that
day.
thing on my body, right?
Yeah. I
And you're
think
just expected to like go along, get
pick
along,
up and
and
go. I
yeah.
know Jen and I had this conversation recently, like when there's this unrealistic expectation placed on babies to fit into your pre-baby life. And that is not what life is. That's going to make your life so much harder
Hmm.
rather than you forming a new rhythm with this baby, rather
Yeah,
than trying to force them to fit into your old life.
it's just
It,
true.
you can't, it causes so much grief to do that
Yeah.
for you and for the baby. Babies can't, oh my gosh, because we also had this conversation. It was a huge fight that we had. We had a huge fight that weekend that we were both so emotional. Um, and Jenna was like, well, I think you pick her up too fast when she starts to cry. And I'm like thinking about it, and I'm like, babies don't have the bigger perspective that they're okay.
Yeah.
They don't cry for no reason. Like
Right. Right.
to her, it is life or death.
Right.
I
Right.
know different
Right.
to her. And the more that I can show up for her big feelings, that like and be super ultra responsive, the better I'm going to be at doing that for myself and my big feelings.
Yeah, I mean, this is where the trauma starts, right?
It
When we
is.
don't pick up our kids and they're like, "Fuck, I am not safe."
I
Like
am not okay. Yeah.
when you do work and you go back and you're like, "How old are you?" You're like, "1," like, "Oh, so you
Yeah.
started feeling safe at the age of 1." Like, great, and
Cool.
like that's implanted for the whole rest of your life. So
Exactly.
it is so critical. And I know a lot of my clients are like really focused on these early developmental years. And I think that's really beautiful. And I think it's really
Because
important.
it's so important. Like it's just
Yeah.
coming out now. I get like how foundational
Yeah.
your responsiveness to your child is, your ability to self-regulate when they're dysregulated, like how much that impacts them in their life.
Yeah. That wilds me out to think about having to like when your kid triggers you,
Mm,
right? And and a trigger is it doesn't know where it
right.
comes from, or maybe you're aware of them. And that you have to quickly or sufficiently work on that and also hold space for them. Like it's the duality of parenting that is just wild to me. Like to
Right. And you're not
feel
going to do
into
it right
that.
all the time.
What?
Yeah.
Of course I am.
No. No, there have been times when I've just been wholly dysregulated and like had to set her down for a couple minutes and walk away, or
Yeah.
like in the heat of the moment yelled or needed to like have some sort of release. And then you can come back
Yeah.
and be like, you know what? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Don't You cannot over apologize to
To
your
your
kids when they
kid.
become dysregulated.
It's true though, because I think also, I mean, we are human and we're not perfect. Oh,
Oh,
um, disappointing.
yeah.
Um, but it's the repair work,
Hmm.
right? It's the repair work, no matter what age they are, coming back, saying you're sorry, putting that into their energy field, right? Um,
Yeah. Getting on their level is really
yeah.
important with when if you're gonna apologize, don't do it from like,
Oh, like
get on eye level with them and say like,
get
I
on
am
your tummy for
sorry.
tummy
Yeah.
time and be like, "Mommy got
I
dysregulated."
bring her to my face and I'm like, I am sorry. Because it puts you
Oh,
on this equal, like you're
yeah.
viewing them and treating them as an equal.
She's just so cute. I'm imagining her cute little face and you bringing her up.
She's so cute. I
And like,
know.
I'm
I
like,
love
oh, what would her, she be like looking at you like,
it.
mama?
Yeah. She's so funny. I love her so much. I'm obsessed. Um,
Obsessed.
but yeah, that's a lot on postpartum and the things that have been coming up around postpartum for me anyway, along this journey.
When
What a
you say it
journey.
like that,
What a journey.
you're like, it's like you signed up for an adventure and you're like, who booked this cruise?
Yeah,
I did not read the brochure fully.
I didn't. I didn't.
You're like, yep, yep.
Yeah. Also, talking about having a baby and not trying to force them to fit into your pre-baby life.
Yeah.
Um, there's another kind of baby that you can have. Didn't know. that I have that does not follow their own schedule. They have no schedule.
Oh,
Some babies are very like structured and regimented and like fall asleep at the same time every day, wake up at the same time every day. And nobody told me that you couldn't have a baby like that.
Is that the majority of babies?
No.
Oh, the
Because
majority
I have mom friends now,
yeah.
right? And one of my mom friends, her kiddo wakes up at the same time every day, naps at the same time every day, eats at the same time every day. And like babies, I always told myself, like, well, babies don't, they can't tell time. But weirdly, this one can.
Huh.
And then Maeve is just so different. Nobody told me that like you can have a baby that like will wake up at 6 one day, next day wake up at 7:30. There's the whole day off, right? Because you're trying to have these like nap schedules and sleep schedules, and so they don't get overtired. And my advice to you, if you have a baby who does not even stick to their own schedule, is follow your wake windows and then like plan everything else around that.
So like when she's awake at 7:30, then nap is this time, food is this time based on that time.
Yes, it's like you have these set, like instead of expecting her, it really, God, it fucks people off that are type A if their baby like doesn't nap for as long as they're supposed to according to this schedule.
Are you
Like,
type A?
No.
Okay.
I like consistency.
I know. I guess I hear the struggle of wanting consistency, and I hear the awareness that she's not
No,
consistent.
she is wildly inconsistent. She's an inconsistent baby.
What is pleasing to you about consistency?
That it's predictable, and I can make a doctor's appointment.
For her or for you?
For me, for her,
Yeah.
but either of us, because there's like, you got to do it in our wake window, and I can't really make appointments. I've got to call the chiropractor the day of and be like, this is where our naps are at this day. Does this time work? Do you have anything this time? Like, I can't pre-make things.
Because if you made an appointment and she was supposed to be napping at that time because of what she woke up, then she would not nap and all hell would break loose.
Oh, yeah. Hell hath no fury like an overtired baby. So it's, if you have a baby that's not consistent, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your baby. That's just their temperament. And I didn't know that they could be like that.
Are they supposed to nap a lot?
There's like a window for their age, right? So like
how much they nap?
How much sleep they need in a 24-hour period.
Okay. So you as their mom are like, gotta get those hours in.
Yeah. And like watch their sleepy cues, because babies don't know that if they're tired, they can just go to sleep. For some reason, well, at least mine doesn't.
Faulty design.
Some babies do, I guess, but mine does not.
You're like, but not my baby. I'm hearing that it's also like a challenge when your baby doesn't follow like the guidebooks and the rules and the supposed to's, because you're so not, it's a better word, spirit. They're saying desperate, but I want a better word.
Graspy.
Yeah. You're so like, that's what I feel like. You're so just like
it's all so chaotic already. It would be nice to have some kind of a consistency.
Yes. Yeah. And they're just like, there's like balls throwing at me and I'm supposed to like catch them.
You're not guaranteed.
Yeah. Oof.
But it takes a lot of the grief off of you to just stop expecting your inconsistent temperament baby to be consistent. Just stop.
Yeah.
Just roll with it.
Well, and I just, as I think about my own journey too, I think like, and where I am at my age and my life and what I'm doing with my business and everything, like there's a lot of dedication to this little baby. Like every time I keep seeing things, I'm just like your whole world is oriented towards them. Like you said, like, yes, you are still you still have your partner, you still have your other things, but like so much revolves around them.
Because it has to.
And then the rest of your circles and society, whatever, don't really conform to that as much.
They don't. This is not, at least in America, right? There are other cultures. There are other places where it's way more family friendly. But like all of these like 21 and up places only, like that's great. Those are for people who hate kids. I previously hated kids. Go to those places. But like there are no places that are like, oh, really family friendly, and like that's okay. It's okay if your toddler melts down in this brewery. It's fine because there are other toddlers probably melting down in this brewery. Like it's just not, we don't have that culture of allowing children to be themselves in our lives.
Yeah. Or like, I watched a friend's post where she's talking about trying to take her kid out for breakfast. And it's just like, her breakfast gets cold and they have a meltdown and this, blah,
Yeah.
blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. And this kind of feeling of like, oh, like, why did we even do this? And I think you're right. If there was a much more supportive place where the kids could go play, there's like a playroom or there's some other,
Right.
like, hey, we know you're only going to be for like 10 minutes. Yeah, more of that, please.
Our culture is not very supportive of children. It's just not.
So in my therapeutic work that I'm doing, right, I'm obsessed with children, love them so much. I asked my therapist, are there cultures that are children led or children centered,
Yeah.
where they parent and trust from a place of honoring what the kid knows? And she said yes, and she sent me some resources, because that's how I want to, I'll send them to you.
Okay.
Because that's how I want to raise my kids, is I really want to trust them. From all the work that I do and what I know, like, they come in with a soul plan, they come in with a mission, and I want to let that unfold. And
Yeah.
I also know that I'm saying this without a child right now. So.
Correct. Well, yes, but
Right.
you conceptually you get it before the practical application.
How much of what you conceived is actually happening?
I don't know that I knew I couldn't have possibly conceived. I don't know. I couldn't have. My life is chaos.
Like, because if I did,
it doesn't. What did you tell me before we had kids? It doesn't look good on paper.
And yet you maybe want to have another one, right?
Oh, I definitely want to have another one. Like, I can't explain it. I can't explain it. She's just, my life is so much better with her in it. And it's not her. Like, there's so much societal expectation and pressure for her to conform to the 9 to 5 work week that Jenna has, to the Monday to Friday school system that is set up for her to, like, there's so much pressure for her to conform, and she's just an inconsistent baby. And why am I trying to force? It's going to give her complexes if I try and force her to be anything other than she is, because she at this stage is in like her purest state of self. She is not conditioned. She is just being who she is. So, like, how can I foster and support that, even if it goes against Jenna's 9 to 5 work week?
Yeah.
Feel
like, I love that you're listening to your own body and your own schedule.
Yeah.
And you're going by the moon cycles today, honey. I love that.
I love that.
Tomorrow you'll go by the solar, and then the next day you'll go by something else.
And it's nice to have some kind of a knowledge of the moon cycle also, because there was a full moon last night and she did not sleep.
And she's a Sag, and it was in Sag, right?
Yeah, because she's 6 months now, so wrapped up her first.
Why am I cheering? I don't know.
Woo! She made it.
I just think that's cool. I also can't believe she's 6 months.
I can't either.
And how, like, we had talked about, like, yeah, we're going to get back at it and go back to work and do all this stuff. And you're just like, on second thought.
On second thought, I haven't slept more than 3 hours at a time since November 29th, 2022.
She's going to be like 16. You're like, I haven't slept.
I have not slept. November
more
29th.
than 5 hours.
2022.
You're like, Mom.
Yeah.
Stop keeping track. Can you imagine when she starts doing that mom voice to you? Like the mom.
I'm excited. I'm just excited to, like, witness her, grow.
You'd be like, look at you, little defiant teenager. She'd be like, stop. You're supposed to not like this, Mom.
You're not supposed to like it. I like it. I like it.
She's like, I can't even rebel.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, that was the plan all along.
All along. Yeah. Moral of the story, if you have an inconsistent baby, I feel you. Just lean into it. It's going to make your life easier.
Yeah. What's a better word
than
inconsistent?
Oh, I don't know. Is there a better word? Like, they're just. Do you hear?
Or maybe we just take. Oh, and I don't.
Oh,
maybe
good.
we just take out the negativity of inconsistent. There's consistent. There's inconsistent. Both are.
Oh, maybe you perceive it as negative then, because I don't.
Oh, I do.
Jess, it's okay to be inconsistent. It just is.
But a lot of people don't seem to like it.
Well, because it doesn't fit into the societal box. the societal patterns and timing that we have. It doesn't follow the societal clock.
I'm gonna have an inconsistent baby to help me with that.
You might. I'll help you with it. Well, actually, I feel like you're going to be a natural at it because I think naturally you are also inconsistent. You just haven't embraced it.
I am so inconsistent. The more that I unmask and detangle from previous, what are those called, projections? I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Some of them were helpful at times to get shit done.
Yeah. And maybe another word could be like an asynchronous.
Ooh, I like that.
Asynchronous baby can't be beholden to a routine.
Yeah. But you're right. I think it does. It comes from getting everybody back to work, getting everybody on a schedule, you know, and
you have to force your baby
yeah,
to fit back into your pre-baby life, and it just does not work that way. At least it doesn't work best that way.
yeah. I feel you.
Yeah. That's all I have to say about that.
Tell me about your mom friends.
My mom friends. I have two.
You're expanding the pack. Is it nice? Is it nice to have mom friends?
It is nice. It's also bleak. Which I didn't expect.
Nice. It's also bleak.
It's also kind of bleak. Yeah, so there's like this club called the Moms Club, and different cities have different chapters of it. And I joined my local chapter of it.
Okay.
But every time I go to an event, I'm like, is this it? This is all we do? All of us together collectively, all we do is hang out with our kids all day? I don't know. It's just very bleak.
What would make it less bleak?
I don't know.
I know. I feel like Spirit's like, stop asking her so many questions. But I'm just curious, like what would make it less, like maybe that's the space for that, even for the bleakness to exist.
Right.
You know,
it's like
for it to be aired out.
I guess what it is just maybe I'm picking up on the energy of all of us together being like, what are we doing? Do you know?
Do you know? Or like,
what are we doing? We don't have
time. What app is that? What app is that?
Time to think about what we're doing because we're so focused on keeping this one, these little things alive that are intent on killing themselves, essentially. Like
so fun. So fun. It's like, look at them running towards that electrical socket.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought that was the baby.
So maybe it's just like the collective energy of the stay-at-home moms club group. It's like we're all stay-at-home moms. This is literally all we're doing.
Right. So like when you go to work or you do other things, you have like other parts of self that get to come forward.
Yes.
Your teacher self or your work self or your healer self or whatever, but like only your mom self pretty much is present. Yeah.
Yes. Especially in these mom club, because like that's the focus, right? You have to have a kid to get in.
Don't come in with a doll.
Right. It has to be a kid.
Do you have to have a live kid to be in? It's like a living mothers, living children.
Yeah, because it's playgroup focused.
Oh, okay.
It's like getting stay-at-home moms out of the house. It's to defeat isolation and deter PPD and all.
And you guys go to like a park or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's different park play dates. It's maybe still a little bit too young for me to really like enjoy it because of her naps.
Yeah.
They always have events during her naps.
You're like, come on. But you at least have some community, some camaraderie, some ability to be like, I don't know either, or I've tried this. Yeah.
Yes.
Is there like a group leader?
There is. They have a president.
Oh.
They have like a bureaucratic setup.
Oh, because it's like a chapter. Yeah.
Yeah. But they're
taking this shit seriously.
But yeah, there's not like a voting process. I think it's whoever wants
sign in.
Yeah. It's not like a hierarchy though. Like it's not some weird like vote for class president. It's like who wants to be president this year?
Everybody's like, not me.
Not it. Not it.
You should always be the vice president. It's the best role ever.
Such an arbitrary role.
It is. I'm the vice president in case the president needs to step down or have a break or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good because before you couldn't find anything. So at least now you found some people and some anybody Googling. Like woo woo.
I haven't come out of the woo-woo closet yet,
Mm-hmm.
but
Are you
there are
wearing
about
like your crystal bracelets and like kind of being like,
I
anybody,
do I
anybody,
wear those. I do wear those. And there's,
Any queer mamas in there with you?
no,
Hmm.
it's irritating. I'm the token
Yeah.
gay. When they're like, we're gonna have a weekend play date so the husbands can come, and I'm like, oh, can we stop? Like,
Oh,
let's use more inclusive terms.
Jenna, you get to be a husband.
Right. No, she doesn't. I don't want a husband. When she it's actually kind of an insult if I
It
feel like acting like a husband.
I know. I think we've talked about that before too, that like people are like, where's your husband or whatever? It's like,
Ugh,
nowhere.
ugh. Yeah.
Somewhere in
Um,
Texas.
yeah. Ugh. Actually, no, I think he's in Arizona, but
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, mom's club's a little bleak, but I think it's gonna get better.
a little. Okay. I'm excited. I think it's important to have like here in Seattle, Washington area, we have something called PEPS.
Oh yeah,
I
you
don't
told me about
I
that.
don't know what it stands for. I thought it was in every state. And so I was like, I told you about it. And you're like, and then I looked it up and it's only here in Washington.
Yeah.
Um, you have to pay. Do you have to pay for
Y-
your mom group?
Yeah, it's like $20 a year. Sure.
Yeah,
Do
this is
that.
like maybe a little bit more. And it's like maybe it's like 12 weeks.
Oh,
And you kind of have it's my friend actually, she's a training to be a therapist. She led a PEPS group. So
oh,
they're
cool.
often led by therapists or
Oh,
maybe,
cool.
and so they kind of give you that space of like this kind of stuff. And my friend was actually sharing that she was like trying to, like, she doesn't have children, but she was like, hey, it doesn't really matter. Like, I'm here to support you with mindfulness and this kind of stuff. And these parents were like, how do I do this? Where do I get that? Da, da, da. Like they
Yeah.
wanted more concrete things. And then eventually, the group shifted and was appreciative for also the mindset shifts and those kinds of things, but also like that nitty gritty, like that is what I felt from her was like, that's the missing village, right? That's where you need the,
Mhm.
like, what do I do? What should I get? What brand? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm amazed how much you guys learn as parents about shit.
You just like have it's just full blown survival mode over here. It's better though. I've heard it takes, that like you kind of turn a corner at 6 months, and I do feel like we've really turned a corner at six
Okay,
months.
good.
Mhm.
All right. Are you still turning the corner or she's
I
only a
think
few
it's
days
I
in?
think the corner has been turned. I think it's
Okay.
been turned.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's around the corner for you? What does that feel like now?
It's like we finally are settling into this new rhythm, this new life. Well, at least for me. I don't know about I can't speak for Jenna.
Yeah.
It's just been such a different experience for her, which also
Yeah.
in the conversation surrounding PPD and, these big feelings and these sadness is like your partner is also in this experience with you, but in a completely different capacity
Yeah.
and on a completely different place in their parenting journey, which is kind of hard to live out
Yeah.
because you want your experience to be so seen and so validated, but it is so different from what they could ever understand and vice versa.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
And it's probably like you said, like so many of your resources are going to yourself and the baby that
Mhm.
sometimes like, having resources left over for the partner can not always be there.
Yeah, it takes a lot. It takes extra effort.
Yeah.
That's because you're in survival mode.
Well, yeah, and I think that's why so many times a kid can quote unquote, right, change the relationship. Like it
And
it
it
does.
does.
It really,
It
really does.
completely does
Yeah.
because it
And so
has
even
to.
though you like love this kid and like came together to make a kid, like the the next experience, it's like you also want to be ready for that in partnership too.
Yeah, your relationship cannot be the same as it was before a kid. Or else it will not survive.
Yeah. Right, because you could be like way more selfish, right? You could do whatever you wanted. You didn't
You could
have
be
like somebody
crazy.
you could be
You could
crazy.
be crazy.
But now you can't be crazy because you got a baby. That probably makes you crazy. But
Yeah.
no, it's true. It's like this whole do you feel like the partners are even more unprepared for this shift? Because at least we do have some effort towards the birthing person being like, get ready, or da 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 da.
Yeah, totally. Because like my body changed immediately. You know, I had to adapt to the fetus's needs
Already, yeah,
for
like you
naps
couldn't
and
eat certain
snacks.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I had to do that for 10 months
Mm-hmm.
beforehand. So it was like I was already used to maybe being a little bit more self-sacrificing, and then
Sure.
it changed in an instant for Jenna. And there's just like
Yeah.
no way you could prepare for that. And like I had done all of this grieving in pregnancy because my whole life was already changed
Yeah.
when I was pregnant. Everything changed,
Yeah.
you know, and hers didn't change until she got here. So it's like I'm a little bit further along in this like accepting of this new way of being.
Yeah, I remember I have a client who had twins, and the one of the partner who didn't give birth was like, well, yesterday I didn't have twins and today I
Today?
do. And I was like, wow, like that must have been like a big change for you. And
Huge.
they were like, yeah, and it's like you start to think about that, like, like we get the gradual, ramp up versus the instantaneous, like now you're here to take care of this kid. And also like you have those maternal instincts, right? That like kind of like
Mhm.
deeper connection that maybe doesn't always happen with the partner. I don't know.
I don't
Like,
know. I
do they
feel
get hormones at all? Or does anything happen with them? Like
I can't speak to the
residual?
straights. But
You don't
I
have to.
can't.
The
Uh,
straights.
but the
Cheers.
heteros. Yeah.
The heteros.
Um, yeah, like being with another woman, it's great. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10 recommend. Wives better than husbands. Sorry. But, but I, but yeah, she obviously is, I think, more open to developing an emotional connection with a child,
Yeah.
probably right off of the bat.
Yeah.
Um, but it does take time, right? It's a tiny stranger. She didn't spend 10 months cultivating like a relationship with it inside of her. So it's like she's almost forging this
Yeah.
months out still.
That's just so interesting to me.
It's like you're going through this same experience together so differently.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
And then you're trying to support one another and you have no connected related experience.
Right? Like I don't know what she's going through. She has no idea what I'm going through, and we're sleeping together every night and go living in the same house. Like it's so weird.
Yeah.
There needs to be more space for new parents.
Yes.
Right? There needs to be like new parent, not just moms groups, but like new parent groups.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
somebody's in the Colorado area, Denver area, please start something.
Yeah.
Natalie
Something
will join.
possibly. Gotta check the vibe
I won't
first.
promise anything. Yeah, it's like never. No, thank you.
No.
I think that's true though, because it is. They're on different layers, and even just in general. I mean, that's why people go to like couples counseling and stuff, right? You're on different layers or different speeds than your partner sometimes, and those kind of therapeutic places or community spaces allow you to kind of catch up, align, realign, reconnect. Spirit shows that a lot of like puzzle pieces or connecting pieces or magnetic energy of just like get yourself in the same place, right? And this happens even when like you want to have another baby, your partner doesn't, right? Like,
Mm.
just it's the same thing, right? So this is not an uncommon thing in relationships, I'm hearing, but it
Mhm.
is something that needs to be navigated and treated with all the love and care.
Yeah, and just like have awareness if you are the birthing parent for
Yeah.
the non-birthing parent and their experience because their world got rocked the
Yeah.
second that baby came in. Like,
Yeah.
so having, compassion and just grace for them as well will help your relationship.
Yeah, and like you don't know what that is gonna open up and activate in your partner or yourself
No,
even, but yeah, like
you have no
so much
idea.
can happen. I think
Yeah,
that's
like
why people ask me these questions in sessions.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Wow. But it's great. I actually do recommend it. 6 months out the gate. Yeah, babies are great.
Babies are great. Love it.
Babies are great. Love them. Have them.
Final thoughts. Babies are great.
Love
Do
them.
it. Have one or
They're so
two.
cute.
They're so cute. I know. I love all the photos you sent me of her. I
Thanks.
was zoom in on her. She has these cute little expressions, like these
Oh my
like
God. She's so expressionate.
sus little furrowed brow or her little like lips like
Yeah. No, she's very expressive. She's a Scorpio rising, so the RBF is strong.
She's always going to check the vibe before,
Yeah. She's always going to
before
set the
engaging.
vibe. Yeah.
She is the vibe.
She is the vibe.
That's what we're learning.
Yes. This is not like just solely a motherhood podcast. Well, maybe it is now. I don't know, but
I mean, it could be.
it could be.
Right. Like, just like our lives change, so does our podcast.
Correct. Yeah.
It is I was going to say asexual. No, it's
Ooh.
asexual. What do we call it? What is that called?
What are you talking about?
It's not inconsistent. It's
asynchronous.
asynchronous.
Yes.
It's asynchronous.
Our podcast is asynchronous.
Our podcast. Our podcast is like a baby.
It is. Okay, speaking of babies,
Yes.
5 years of doing the Lord's work, Jess.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? It feels like a long time and not a long time. I don't know if that is a good description, but
well, because when you're in it, you're like, what is time?
yeah. And 5 years, sometimes I'm like, gosh, I feel like I've been doing this my whole life, right? But professionally and paid for it for 5 years. Yeah. So my business baby was born on June 1st.
Woo.
They are a Gemini.
Love it.
Obviously. I think I have their chart somewhere. I should look up the rest of it.
I have mine. Yeah.
Of your business. Yeah. Yeah. And if you have a business, pull your business's chart. I highly recommend it. It's so fun because you can like look at transits and how things are affecting it. And yeah, so I had this contest to name my business, which I don't know when I posted that, like way long ago. And I was like, for sure I'm going to name it in Aries season because I'm an Aries. That passed.
Aries.
For sure I'm going to name it in Gemini season, which we're still in. But I don't know. I'm going to register it and change and put a name into it. And it's coming closer. The name is coming closer. So I want to say that if you have an idea or a name for my business, you can still comment on my post that's on Instagram. It's pinned. But
do you want a name?
Do I want a name?
Yeah.
Other than my own name?
Yeah. Well, I feel like, okay, you're 5, right? 5 is energy of change. You're making a pivot this year.
Yeah.
So I don't know that.
It may not. This post may stay up forever. So I just need to let people know. That recession may be a long time coming, friends. But for my 5-year anniversary, there's 5 Fridays in June.
Woohoo.
Every Friday, I'm giving away a free session.
And
I haven't decided if they're all going to be full sessions because I have some other stuff that I've been creating, specifically some group sessions. And so one of them might be a free group session, or one of them might be a free couple session. So I might have my mom pick one because it's on the last Friday's on her birthday. So we're just gonna have fun with it. I had all this big thing planned that I channeled, but it was just too much, you guys. Honestly, it was just too much. I've been going through some healing. Yeah. I've been going through some physical healing, like literally I fell and like my whole knee is bruised, and I've been going through a lot of like emotional healing. So it's too much. And so I also want to say, like, if it's too much, just take it down a notch, right? In anything.
Permission. Yeah.
Permission in your business, in your life, whatever. Like, I don't know. I like to do a lot of things and do a lot of stuff and da 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 da. And sometimes it's too much, and that I don't get anything done. And so I was just like, okay, well, I can always change it for the following Fridays because I'm inconsistent. Well, beautiful.
Embrace it.
I am asymptomatic. No.
You're ACC. You don't even want to say it. You're asynchronous.
I'm asynchronous. I'm like, am I asexual? Am I asymptomatic? No, I am asynchronous. Because that's how I want to live my life. I do not want to be deeply committed to a lot of things.
To anything. I don't want to be beholden.
No, like when you asked me to like move with you and your friend and buy some property, I was like, I so love that idea. And I immediately felt the level of commitment that would take to be grounded. Yeah. So, but yeah, 5 years in business. A lot of it was during the pandemic, a good 3 years, which I think really grew my business. I get to see so many international clients, even though I have an office space now. I don't have people coming in person yet, and I probably will eventually, but I love Zoom. I love how it's just opened up everything. And I'm in a training right now. And like you said, my business is going in this new direction. I feel what's coming is I've always been a healer, right? It's always been a part of me. And I started off 5 years ago doing energy work. I did not start out as a spirit baby medium. Well, I think my business was always my name, but I was doing all my other little, like, just do some yoga and do some energy work. And then this spirit baby stuff happened. But what I have been feeling a lot of lately is to actually do some real deep physical healing, like to do energetic healing again, to kind of develop ways to help people be free of things and suffering, and to really, like, a lot of times in session I'll say, like, okay, you go do this, or you find somebody, or you do that, but what they're showing me in this training and what I'm learning, what I'm kind of like soaking in is, oh, I get to do this now. Like, this is like the next pathway for me. Cause I was kind of like, am I just going to be like doing sessions for the rest of my life? And that was always a no for me.
Right.
So what I really want is to like create change in this arena, right? I want to create impact in child rearing and birth and pregnancy and all that good stuff. So that's, I think, where it's headed. And I have so many clients who have kids now that want help with their kids who are here on earth. And so that is an area that, like, other spirit baby mediums maybe talk about or whatever, but they really only kind of focus on that. And that's kind of how I started, but it has been drifting more and more into, okay, so now that they're here, this is the next layer of support that they need, that their parents need. And it's just fascinating. And kids are just so damn cool. And I just would love to work with little baby humans and little
so
kids.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh, so
I love
and
that.
It kind of surprised me in a way. Like, I always knew something was coming. And after taking just the first weekend of this training, I was like, oh, okay, this feels good. And when you've been like a change is coming, or something is going to change, but you don't know what it is yet. And you're just like, what is it? What is it? And like, finally, I'm like, oh, I'm getting like clearer glimpses of like where this work is going. It's cool.
From eggs to adults with Jess McKeown. From conception to college.
I knew you when you were a zygote. Or whatever they call them.
Yeah, just a zygote.
Yeah, see, I remember that shit. I can say zygote, no problem, but not
asynchronous.
Asynchronous. That's hard for me to say. I should sit with that, huh? I probably I think my dad was like pretty orderly, and like he was always like super time Sagittarius.
Oh, interesting.
But super time bound. Like, always had to, like, he was always like, all his clocks were like 5 or 15 minutes fast. He was always,
oh my God,
always early. Always like, which is very Virgo. Oh yeah, but like, I guess for him more stressful to be late. But yeah, I felt like I had a lot of structure, and and I also think, like, if there's that place that I work with parents a lot, where it's like, how do you find the flow of like letting your kid be your kid and like letting them lead, and also getting them to the doctor's appointment on time, right? Because we do live in a world where there are finite things.
Some things.
Yeah. And like, sometimes I want to be like, you know what, then you cancel the appointment, or you move it, or it's like, it's not the end of the world if you can't make certain things.
Or you bribe them.
Or you do the other side of the thing, which is okay, like, because you got to get them where you got to get them.
I know. I've been learning about like gentle parenting.
Or you bribe them. How do you bribe a baby? With like your boob?
No. Well, yes, it is a nice tool to have.
Get it.
It's a nice tool.
Oh my God, I'm so horrible.
There's, I guess, like, gentle parenting is such like boomers hate gentle parenting. They're like sissies, right? But
boomers hate everything.
They have a large capacity for misery. Bless them.
They're baby boomers. They're just little babies.
Yeah. But one thing about gentle parenting, right? It's like respecting your child's flow and empowering them to make their own choices when they don't have a choice in something is giving them the illusion of choices. So like, say like, we're going to bed, right? You don't say, are you ready for bed? You don't say that.
Right.
You say, we're going to bed.
Yeah.
Would you like to hop there? Or do you want me to carry you? You like get those, you give them choices in the non-negotiables.
Oh, so okay. I like that. That's when they're like toddler age, or what? 2, 3.
Or teenagers. I don't know. It might work on them too.
If you're going to school, do you want me to drive you, or do you want to take the bus?
Yeah. You honestly like stop asking your kids
Mm,
non-negotiables
okay.
because that's a fight waiting to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. And, you do have to provide structure as a parent.
Right.
You
You
are
do.
their safe place and they need to
You
be
are there.
depending on you and,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So
But yes, that's how you do
I
it.
will be so consistent in my
Mhm.
parenting.
Probably not. Don't bank
Probably
on
not.
that.
I know because kids like look for the inconsistencies, but you said
Yes, they do. They love to point those out.
they remember them like eagles. So anyway, 5 years in business. I have a post up. If
Yes.
you want a session, come on down and put a comment in there. I think when the first poll, there was like 51 comments. I think it's up to like 70 something comments now. So it gets bigger. The pool gets bigger each week. But you're always in there. So that's the fun thing.
Oh, nice. You only have to like go on that and comment once, and then you're in
Yeah.
there.
And
You're
then
in
just,
it for the 5 weeks.
open for the randomness or however we select. Exactly.
Oh, that's so fun.
And I wanted to do that because, you know, I love to give away this gift. It's such a beautiful gift. I love to share it with people. The first winner won it for a friend of theirs, which is really awesome.
Oh,
So you
that's
can
nice.
always like nominate friends and stuff. But I'm so grateful for everyone. Like my
Mhm.
clients are amazing. The spirit babies are amazing. Like I love this work so much. And I'm just like so happy to have found
Yeah.
my thing.
Yeah.
And I even kind of fought this for a while, but I'm in a much better place where I am really embracing what it is that I get to do every day and, or most days.
Yeah.
And like how freaking cool it is and like
So
how cool
cool.
this world is and the
So
universe and
cool.
all the things we can talk to and just being a medium and, like wanting to help other people in their mediumship work. And in
Yeah.
this class that I'm taking, I had to take a mediumship prerequisite,
Mhm.
which was fun because as a medium, I'm like, oh, cool. How do other people do it?
Yeah.
And one of the things that this teacher said was, we all used to be able to do this. Like we just
Mhm.
channeled a whole bunch of beings. It was so cool. And you can channel like an artist, you can channel, somebody who's really great with finances and like bring down their information for
Yeah.
you, right? For whatever you want. For
Yeah.
parenting, that's what I'm thinking of is like, okay, who are some like divine parenting examples that we can like channel and bring down information?
Do we have those yet?
Yeah,
Maybe
I
call
don't
them
think
future
so.
versions.
Yeah, or like it might just be like maybe like our archetypal figures, or
Yeah.
things like that. Like that's kind of where I still have to like work things out. Or it might be for like what's for your cosmology. Like maybe your grandmother was like an awesome mother type figure that you want to like call down her energy and get some advice.
Yeah.
But it's
Mine was
just
not.
like don't call the bad grandma.
We will not be calling her. Yeah.
But it's just like it's so cool to think like where all this could go. So
It's anywhere limitless. That's humans are supposed to be able to do that.
yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah, and like the Christianity and the church and everything, kind of like clamp down on that ability for us to connect. And it's really never been the same since, which is kind of why I've always had this thing for
yeah.
religion.
Like a what, like a grudge? Like a what?
Like okay,
Vendetta?
so yeah, I'll describe it. So I went to a Catholic, no, Jesuit, like the black sheep of the Catholics or the party
Okay.
animals of the Catholics. So
Uh-huh.
I went to Jesuit University and I was like, deeply exploring religion when I was there. And what I came away from was like religion's kind of shitty. Like it
Oh, it
starts
sucks.
wars, it, oppresses this, it does that, it blah blah blah. You can only
It
be a
gives
man
license. It gives
here, blah blah
license to
blah.
hate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, where's all of this like love and peace and whatever? And so like
Only if you
within some of
conform.
those structures, yeah, some people will like be charitable or they'll do things like, oh,
Mhm.
but the Catholic Church does this, or blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, like I also do nice things, but I can be an asshole too, right? Like
Correct.
it's like, okay. And these are like major structures. And so I'm really curious to see, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but like the fall of religion, like I've just been like waiting patiently to see
Yeah.
how that starts to, and unfortunately, it's like rearing its ugly head right now with all these fucking laws against trans people and abortion and shit. And this, whatever these people are doing, I don't even know. To me, it feels beyond religion what these people are doing.
It
It's
is.
not even like tied to like the even like bullshitty, like, oh, religion is so nice and great, and for those of you who have religion, like more power to you, right? If that works for you, like
If it
that's your
feels good for
journey.
you. Yeah.
But like collectively, I think it's going to fall.
I agree.
Collectively, it's going to, and I think it would behoove everybody if we were to not be so constrained by these organizations and these systems that really prevent us from having our own unique relationship with God, spirit, universe, whatever. So,
Agreed. Let's just like, rules.
and if that isn't something a witch would say, I don't know what
Right.
is.
Rules. Yeah, that's right. You're owning your witch.
Oh, I'm a witch who chats with Jesus, and so we're all good.
Love Jesus. Yeah, you too can chat with Jesus.
You too.
You too.
I know. So I'm stepping off my soapbox. But yes, I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. We'll see how the next couple of years go. Yeah, my 5-year, my change year.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm excited. I hope that your new direction comes through these free 5 sessions.
Me too. Ooh, that's a good blessing. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Oh, I never thought about it like that. I'm gonna take it notes.
Yeah.
My guides are like, you have smart friends. Of course, my guides always love Natalie. They love all of you, but they like really love her.
we have a good rapport.
Yeah, we do. We check in a lot.
Yeah.
They're always
Okay.
like,
We will.
oh my God, we have been going a long
We have
time.
a couple of questions. Oh, there's a lag again. The internet. My internet, like myself, is a little unstable today.
Your internet is soft today.
It is soft today. Yes, speaking of your guides, we do have a couple of questions because we're still doing that. If you guys like it. But the first question that we got, and then we'll just wrap up this episode with those, is somebody submitted that they have been trying to conceive for 8 years. And wanted to know if there is a baby at the end of this and do they need to change something. So Jess, I would like your guides to take the reins on this one.
Yeah. So when you were talking about the questions, I felt a lot of sadness in this one. And I think I've shared this on some lives before, and people have given me feedback that this is like helpful for them. So I'm going to share this part here. But like when I work with you, or I see like you're a timeline is the best way to describe it. And you have like a career one, you have a family one, you have your kind of general life one, you have all these like different ones, and you have like a parenting one or a motherhood one or a fatherhood one, and they look like guitar strings to me. That's how I'm seeing it right now, right? All the little ding ding ding, and then there's like the big neck, right? And you come into this life to grow, to learn, to evolve. That's kind of what I believe. I mean, you have to kind of think about your own cosmology, your own way of thinking about like why you're here. And I think that can impede a lot of progress, because like if you think God is punishing you because you come from a religion like I just talked about, and that you're falling out of favor with God, or like you can't have a baby because you're not in good terms with God, that is going to make your journey longer and harder. It just is. And so sometimes we put those lessons up front before we have a kid, so that by the time we get through the honing process, if you will, we are sharp and ready to have this child that's coming for us, and then to progress with all the lessons and growth afterwards. Sometimes people get pregnant really quick, really fast. You're like, how the heck? Or like they don't even want a baby and they got pregnant, or they sneeze, they looked at something, and those people that say like, I looked at something and I got pregnant.
Yeah.
Their work comes after, right? Yeah. So they have no problem, they're not working through conception issues. They're not working through all the stuff that comes up in those 8 years. That's all gifts for you. All the struggle, the heartache, the friendships, the losing of friendships, the having to take better care of yourself, having to like strengthen your partnership, like all that hopefully should be preparing you for life with this child, right? Or this progression afterwards. And then, if you have it quickly pregnancy, then you might have partnership work to do afterwards, right? Like you might have to work, like you were talking about, like, oh, like my mama bear came out and my partner is adjusting differently. And how do we deal with that, right? So then your work and effort, thank you, might be there. And then my guide was saying, and some of you might have it on both sides.
Yeah. Yay.
And that means that you have like how I see it essentially is like you have these little like lesson bags, little nuggets, right? And you place them on your timeline. Like, okay, I want to put that in my career and I want to learn that one over here with friends. And but some of you are like motherhood, motherhood, motherhood. You put it all because you're like, I'm going to be a mother. I'm going to learn this shit. I know this is a good pathway to learn all this. I really want to do this work. And so it kind of drives you. If you have that like aching feeling to be a mother, you don't know where it's like nagging and I gotta do this. And you know, that is part of it. Like, you know, that you've put a lot of lessons on there. My guides are saying you can move your lessons, you can take things off, you can rearrange if you need to. If it's too much, you can always renegotiate once you're here or ask for a lightening of it, they're saying to me. But like, you know, you've kind of set up what you want to do. So that's part of it, is that, you know, your journey is yours and there's a lot of beauty and a lot of lessons and a lot of learning in that. And then I think when I hear trying to conceive for 8 years, what I also hear is probably a lot has happened in those 8 years. So while you may mark the trying from the very first time up until today, that could be 8 years, but your spirit baby may see it as like, they tried, and then there was an adjustment. And then, you know, so their clock may be different. So they want you to know that like, you may have been trying and then you may have done something, had an experience, moved, right? Married a new partner, whatever it is, you know, that kind of stuff. So like the clock, they want you to know kind of like restarts for them. It's not as finite for you. So kind of look at your whole journey. If you've been with the same partner and it's been 8 years there, then I would also kind of like look at like what's been happening in the partner's life. Did they change jobs? Did somebody in their family die? Are they having familial stuff going on, right? Those kinds of things, right? So it's like you have to kind of look at both parts of it. I also hear like make sure that you're getting the male partners checked, because the percentage of where infertility comes from is getting much higher with the males. They're starting to
One
show that
in
now.
3
Yeah. Hello.
men
Hi.
are infertile.
Yeah. Very, very true. And so much of the weight has been carried on the females for so long, far too long.
Yeah.
So if you've done all the basics, right, you kind of done all the health checks, you've kind of looked at your life and your situation, and you kind of like, for example, like if you're about to move and you're trying to get pregnant, you know, like the baby could wait, right? So there are some common things that there's big life changes. If a parent is sick or dying, those kinds of things, spirit babies will kind of like, you know, they're in a liminal space and they might be watching what else could happen.
Is there a baby at the end of this for them?
Yeah. I'm getting a no.
I heard not in the way that you would expect.
That's exactly what I heard. So, and I heard not in the way that you're going right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like you heard, I think the last part of the question was, like, is there something that I need to change? And I think that is, you already know there is by asking. Please always, when you ask us a question, please already know that your answer is within that.
It is.
Your relationship with your partner has changed. Who you were with them 8 years ago is not who you are now. And that needs to be reevaluated before a baby can come in. That's what I'm hearing. Something about your partnership change, something about how you feel about each other, something about how they've reacted to this, or they've supported you or not supported you, or just how they've seen you in a different light or in a different way, how you've seen them in a different light or different way. It's just changed where you are. And so like what your guides are saying is, please have a reconciliation and a catching up energy with them to see if this is something that they still want to pursue, if this is something that they still want to do. I just feel this partner feels like this is a big drain on energy in the relationship. And so if those holes can be filled, if this journey can be embraced more, if the grief of the longevity of it can be transformed, and you can move towards this hopefulness, this, you know, possibility, and all this kind of, there's a lot of stuff with this relationship they're showing me. If that can be addressed, then this baby can come in.
But yeah, it's not like a hard no.
Yeah, it's definitely not a hard no. And it's definitely like it's like a not the way that it's going now. Like you said, it's like that the course that you're on does not lead to them being here. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Hope that helps.
Yeah, I feel like maybe there's some anger or grief that might come up around that, but you'll work through it. This is why
Some
you
anger
asked the
and grief
question.
around,
Hmm.
yeah. Oh,
Hmm.
like hearing like no.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you feel that angry, which I'm already feeling you might have,
Hmm.
um, let that motivate you to change, right? That's the change.
Yes.
What's underneath that anger? Your answer to what needs to change is under there.
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of feel like you're tired of waiting, you're tired of, yeah, so maybe there's a new way, there's a new process, there's something that you want to explore. I know a lot of times people like really hold out on like not wanting to do IVF or IUI or have any kind of support because people are like all about this natural way, but that could be inhibiting you from bringing your baby in, right? Like
Could be.
let go of like your preconceived notions about it, right? There's a lot
Mhm.
you can do to protect and support yourself and your body through those procedures, right? Which are
Mhm.
not the greatest on the body. Nobody's been like, yay,
Right.
IVF, I feel so good. Like it's
Right.
usually a not great experience, but you can, like anything, make it the most comfortable and delightful as possible for you. And then also
Right.
embrace the suckiness of it, right?
Hmm.
That's the dichotomy of parenting. They're getting you ready already.
I love that.
Woo! They're on
Love it.
fire.
They are on fire.
Okay.
Good. Stay on fire. We have one more.
Okay.
Okay. And then this actually wasn't a question that anybody submitted. It was a comment that we got.
Mm.
And it was a comment about all of these traumatic birth stories that are coming to light and being told. Like, what did they say? They said they've heard nothing but traumatic birth
Mm.
stories from so many. Is there anyone that has a good birth story anymore? And I I don't really have like a good birth story to tell you, but I
Mm.
thought it was worth mentioning this comment because, like, yeah, it does seem like a lot of trauma around birth and motherhood and parenthood is coming to light. I think because it has to, because you kind of have to like flush up the
Mhm.
bottom for it to get better. And there's been so much trauma around birth and women not being recognized for the experiences that they go through or being minimized or put into these PPD boxes. Like there is so much trauma around it that we are collectively healing and working through, and it's obviously a key part of your journey if that's all you're hearing, because right, you're attracting what is already in your energy field. So there's
Yeah.
probably some trauma. If all you're hearing is traumatic birth stories, there's probably some trauma that you need to look at within your own story.
Yeah, I'm hearing check about your own birth story and your partner's birth story. Check
Yeah.
about your mother's, if you can, birth story. How were they born?
Yeah.
And then also, what I'm hearing is what would you do to prepare if you had a traumatic birth? Right. So,
You
like,
can't.
no, but I mean, like, like they call it a spiritual preparation. So, like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, you can't exactly prepare like in the here and now human world prepare, like not like go to Walmart and buy a bunch of toilet paper prepare, but
Right.
more like it, like I know this is a possibility of what could happen because I'm seeing it.
Hmm.
So what can you do to like prepare your soul, put it that way, for a possible experience like that? Like I take clients through that all the time. You got to prepare for another miscarriage. You got to prepare for this and that. And you have to energetically be like, okay, like if that happens, like I I gotta like maybe I already want to have a therapist ready to go that I have a
Yeah.
relationship with when I'm pregnant. And maybe I want to talk to a lot of people about postpartum care and the
Hmm.
signs of PPD and whatever it is. Like, you can't like you said, you can't prepare for everything. But if there's things that come up that you're like, what is it about those traumatic birth experiences that's like tingling the most for you, right? Is
Right.
it
Like
that
what
like
emotion are you getting
yeah.
from them? Because
Is
that's
it
what you need
like
to look
the
at.
fear? Is it like, oh my God, their body and they're bleeding, they
Yeah.
almost died? Like what is it, right? And then you can at least kind of put some, I would say you can well resource yourself around that.
Yeah. Yeah, because there really is no way to prepare, but like bringing awareness around, I guess, the fears that it's striking in you.
Yeah. And then I would say, like, try to watch some other experiences. I think a lot of the traumatic experiences that I've heard of happen in hospital situations. And when you're in a hospital situation, you're seen as a patient and they treat you very differently and they see it as a success that the baby is alive. That's like their main care. I don't even
Right.
think I think they see the mother as like secondary, which is so fucking weird, but whatever. It's all about the baby, all about the baby. And so that's part of it too, is that, you want to choose an environment when you're birthing where you are supported, where you have like a doula is allowed, or your partner is allowed, or you like the team. What happens a lot is like, you get some rando delivering your baby
Mhm.
that you've never met, right?
Right.
And you've like done all these appointments and all this kind of shit. So you can mitigate, but if something needs to happen in your birth, it's gonna
It's
happen.
gonna happen.
And like with Maeve, like the one thing that prevented Natalie, that Natalie said, okay, if this one thing happens, we're gonna go to the hospital. It happened.
She pooped in her water.
The one thing.
She
So,
pooped.
I mean, even like when you plan for a home birth, right? And you create
Yeah.
this like, okay, I'm gonna have this serene environment, all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. You still have to be prepared for having to go to
It
the
doesn't.
hospital. Yeah,
You kind of
right.
just have to intention set, really. Like, I want
Yeah,
to feel this way about it when it's like,
yeah.
you just have to set an intention for how you want to feel during it or after, because that's the only thing that you have control over.
Yeah, and what my guides are saying though is be prepared to see a lot more trauma in a lot more places, because
Mhm.
we are in the era of,
The
clearing
drama
out the
coming up.
trauma. I mean, what is his name? Gabor Mate, like
Yeah.
huge energy.
Huge.
His work is so like potent and powerful right now, because we are all ready, yay, to
To
face our
witness our
trauma.
trauma.
Go us.
We love that for us. Also, if all of you're hearing is like, acknowledge that yes, you're attracting these traumatic birth stories to you if you're not actively seeking them out. But if you
Yeah.
are actively seeking out traumatic birth stories, how about you change the narrative and actively seek out good birth stories?
Yeah.
Better, healthier.
Yeah. Oh my God. You should see my feed. Like I will open up Instagram. There'll be like a baby's head coming out.
Vaginas.
Lots of vaginas on my feet.
You're
Lots of
not even a lesbian. Yeah.
oh my God. You're making me laugh. Yeah, lots of like screened content, like
Yeah.
or like I always have to like press the button to like see it.
Yes, I'm
And
18. Yeah.
yeah, it's always on birth stuff. It's always on. But yeah, and watching some of those, watching some really powerful, and to be honest, a lot of what I see that is positive are home births. They really
Yes.
are, because there's a lot of safety and comfort and feeling. And I don't know, do people like record hospital births? Can you record a hospital birth?
I think you could. My
Yeah. Would you
mother,
want to?
no.
Right. I mean, you're recording this beautiful experience at home versus like a hospital. I don't know.
It's chaos. It's just nuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in
And
a
maybe
hospital,
some people though like love hospital births and they feel
right,
safe,
some
they
people
feel
feel very
secure.
supported.
And that's
Yes.
beautiful. And that's really what it is. It's like, maybe you have some medical trauma, right? Maybe you have something there that can show up as,
Mhm.
as fear too. Like, yeah, why
Yeah.
am I seeing this?
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that you're going to have one.
Right, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that there aren't any good, quote unquote, birth stories. There are other birth stories too. But
Yeah.
birth is traumatic. Like, even if it is like a good or a better or not a traumatic in the way that you're thinking, like, it is traumatic
Yeah.
for
And
everybody.
inherently. Yeah. Yeah. And like I have a client who is now, she's took some trainings and she's witnessing people's birth stories, which is like
Yeah.
so beautiful and healing, right? And there's,
So healing.
I'm sure, a whole process and protocol that goes through that. But there are practitioners and people out there that if you've had a traumatic birth will help you through it, right? Will help
Mhm.
you process it. And and it can be like big chi all the way traumatic, bled out, lost your life kind of almost thing. And it can
Yeah.
be to like where like your birth plan like went awry or got changed, right? Or you have, or
Yeah.
like, and like a lot of it, like if you've had emergency C-sections like that, it's a lot, and
It is.
it's hard because you have to go and then right immediately into mother caretaker mode.
Correct. And you don't
And
have
you still,
time
yeah,
to process this trauma.
yeah. So
Process your trauma.
process your trauma, get yourself set up with some good support systems, and like Natalie said, like really check the strength of those support systems, right?
Yeah.
To get
Well,
clear about,
there are
what kind of
lessons
support you
that you're
want.
not going to escape.
Yes. What is it like? You can't, what did I try to do? You can't miss your lessons, or
You cannot avoid your lessons. Yeah, you
yeah.
cannot.
We've
And
tried. We've tried. Okay.
we've
That's why
tried
we're telling you this.
many ways. Yeah.
Great questions.
I yeah, a story about Jenna. Because also maybe it's not about you, maybe it's about your partner.
Yeah.
Um, Jenna works in the hospital. I used to work in the hospital where we ended up giving birth. and she saw our postpartum nurse, who we really liked, who I knew. That's weird. And she like saw her and immediately, like, she said she can't even go up to the third floor without getting like heart palpitations and like sweating. And like, so like Jenna has a lot of unprocessed trauma as well about the
Wow.
birth that we need to dive into. We just haven't, I mean, we haven't had time to
Oh,
dissect.
so Jenna's back at the hospital where you gave birth, and
She works there.
she can't go up to the third floor because that's where that's where you were.
That's where labor and delivery is. Yeah.
Ah,
And she can't, she gets sweaty. She gets like heart, like breathing fast. Yeah. She has a
wow.
lot, she has unchecked trauma that we need to really work through. But it could also be about your part, like your partner's a part of the experience too.
It does take two to tango.
It does.
Yeah. And I think that's probably been the big part of my work, because I mostly see like the birthing parent. But like always I love seeing couples because it's better. It's always
It's
better.
better.
Let's just get it all on the table. And like a lot of times clients will show the recording to their partner. So I'm always like, hi, the partner.
Yeah.
But and if you feel comfortable, right? Because I know sometimes they're like, my partner doesn't really agree with this, but they're like, you do you.
Yeah.
Even what comes through in sessions, we want to encourage them to get their help and their support. And especially the male-bodied ones. Oh my God.
We hold a lot of compassion for them.
So much.
Mhm.
Like so many hurt little boys, so many scared little boys, so many little boys trying to just please their fathers. Like, it's a lot. So get to know your lineage, get to know your family, get to know your in-laws.
Get to know your trauma.
Have we sold it? Da, da, da.
Have kids, it's great. Yeah.
You can do your trauma work while you're on the boat.
Yay. Yeah. Okay. I think that sufficiently answers those two.
Yes.
That we got. Anything else before we wrap up this episode?
I don't think so.
Cool. Thanks for listening to us. Riff.
Howdy. So long, partners.
Yeah, catch all episode. If there's anything that we didn't touch on that you're like curious about or you want more channeling around, we're going to put up the box the day that this episode goes live. So you could submit if you want like a personalized message, or if you are curious about something we haven't talked about, deep diving into something we have talked about, whatever. We are open for suggestions. Let us know.
I kind of want to talk about aliens again.
We can talk about aliens again. Ooh, let's get in the. Oh, yes. Okay. I think we talked about the author coming on the podcast. She kind of ghosted us. Update on that. I have sent an email follow-up and I haven't heard anything. So I'll probably do it again. And then we'll see if she's going to come on. Put out good vibes, guys. I really want to talk to her.
Maybe she's in like another dimension or something right now.
Like maybe she got abducted.
You have to use your 5G email account. Maybe she got abducted. Do they do that anymore? Do they still abduct? I'm still waiting.
Yes, they do.
Yes, you said that with such confidence.
They do. Sometimes while you're driving, because your conscious mind is busy.
They abduct you, like your whole body though, like up in the beam abduction?
Well, it's your body. It's like your consciousness.
But you're still driving?
Because you're focused on driving.
And then they put you back in?
Yeah, like have you ever been driving and you're like, oh my God, how did I get here? I don't even remember really driving. You probably got abducted.
Yeah, why do you call it spacing out?
Mm-hmm.
Because you went to space.
Yeah.
I'm going to see that so differently now.
I love that for you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Happy abductions while you're driving.
Bye.
See you next time.